We've torn apart all these different vehicles. We can put all these different electronic circuit boards next to each other. This guy's got 5. Tesla's got 1. This guy's got 3. Tesla's got 1. This guy's got 8 different boards. Tesla's got 1. Anything that had to do with the electronics on the Tesla, they were so far advanced. They were more advanced than any of our Department of Defense projects. Really mind-blowing.
As you've seen, the electronics in it, it just feels 10 years ahead of anybody else. And it's, well, I'm waiting for some other manufacturer to catch up.
Well, good luck to whomever is going to try it. I can tell you, Tesla is got about 70%, and Ford is 6.2, which is number 2 position.
Right.
Holy mackerel, you know, think on, that's ponderous. That is ponderous. I had made a bunch of predictions, and I said that Volkswagen is going to be number 2 in back of Tesla, and they are going to give Tesla a run for their money. And then the ID4 showed up, and what? I couldn't believe it. This thing is a dog.
In this video, the engineering expert of experts, Sandy Munro, once again losing his fucking mind over Tesla's incredible engineering and unassailable lead. Munro also takes an epic dump over VW's laughable EV efforts to date, shares which automakers he believes are in the biggest trouble, and loads more. So let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment theme merch in the merch store. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. So let's watch these highlights, which I've painstakingly edited down from the full interview on the Fully Charged podcast, link in description. Highly recommend you all watch it. If you don't have a full hour, well, that's what this video is for. I've got 15 minutes of the absolute highlights, and I'll share some thoughts and comments along the way.
When I saw what came out of Tesla, when we tore apart the Model 3, the very first one, the outside was crap, no question about it. About everything that could go wrong did go wrong with that. But once we got rid of the body and we started looking at everything else, I mean, there were so many fabulous innovations. After I went through the first Model 3, I couldn't justify keeping the company on the same path. So I looked at, you know, the future versus the past. When I saw what was going on in the Model Y, I think that the transition from ICE vehicles to EVs was the best decision I've ever made in business ever in my whole life.
Translation: as Munro and associates began tearing down Tesla vehicles, the penny dropped. Oh f***, this is the future. EVs, ICE is dead. Time to pivot the business. This was half a decade ago. Munro and associates saw the inevitable future. How about legacy automotive manufacturers? A little bit slow on the uptake, aren't they?
When we did the Model 3, that was for us. I mean, it was astounding. I mean, I was totally blown away. And remember, I said that we work on lots of different industries. Well, when I saw with the inverters or the body control modules, or anything that had to do with the electronics on the Tesla, they were so far advanced. They were more advanced than any of our DoD project, Department of Defense projects.
Let's just take a moment. In fact, let's just take a few moments to let that one sink in. Munro and associates begin tearing down Tesla vehicles. Underneath the hood, forget about the panel gaps and all that bullshit. Aesthetics, window dressing, who gives a fuck? When they actually start looking under the hood, the electronics, the things that really drive this technology, they are stunned to discover that Tesla's electronics more advanced than the stuff in the Department of Defense projects they're working on. Would this be an awkward time to mockingly ridicule the morons who say things along the lines of, the competition is coming?
This stuff was really exotic, really mind-blowing. That's when I became sort of a Tesla fan.
It is an extraordinary, because I drive a Model 3 regularly, and I've had it a few years now, and because I'm constantly driving other cars, so we'll test another car. So I've driven a lot of different electric cars, and every time I get back in, it kind of doesn't make me happy, because I want some of the other cars to be really good. The software in a Tesla, I don't know what it is. I'm quite an old guy, and I didn't grow up with computers, and I've got a smartphone, and I go blub, 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 and the Tesla app works instantly, and it always works. It doesn't go wrong. It tells me exactly what's going on with the car, all those things. And I've tried apps for dozens of other companies, and They never work.
Yeah.
They don't connect to the car. It's agony. You spend hours trying to make it join up, and
So, moments ago, Sandy Munro literally describes Tesla's electronics as mind-blowing, more advanced than the stuff they've seen in Department of Defense projects they've worked on. And now Robert's pointing out something that is painfully obvious to anyone who stepped in any electric vehicle other than a Tesla. Tesla's software just works. It's intuitive. It's almost as if Tesla has an army of extremely talented software engineers at their disposal. Meanwhile, the software in literally every other vehicle on the planet is not only bad, it's pitiful, it is embarrassing, it's lame, it's unintuitive, and it just doesn't fucking work. But remember, the competition is coming.
The core software and as you've seen, the electronics in it, it just feels 10 years ahead of anybody else. And it's, I'm waiting for some other manufacturer to catch up.
Well, good luck to whomever is going to try it. I can tell you.
I think the reaction there sums things up perfectly. Good fucking luck.
In second place in the United States, it's Ford, as far as sales and whatnot. And for one of the established old companies, they're doing remarkably well. Others, not so much. The guys that are really, I think, going to wind up in the catbird seat is going to be the Chinese. I mean, I spent a lot of time in China looking at their electric vehicles.
Do you not have very much faith then in the kind of, other than Tesla, the startup electric car companies in the United States? I mean,
oh no. I think that Rivian has got a good shot. I have one of their vehicles. It's my wife's. According to her, it's her car. She does like the Model 3 for driving better than any car she's ever had in her whole life. But we do have the Rivian, which I think is great. I think that anytime you look at a car coming from even a startup company, like you mentioned, Lucid and things like that, anything you see like that coming from a startup company is actually about the same as where you'd find the GMs, the Fords, the BMWs, whomever. They're in the same ballpark. So even the older established OEMs are what I think, when they bring out their new cars, I think they're kind of like novices. Maybe the build of the car is wonderful, but I will tell you that what's underneath the skin is in its infancies.
So there's a lot to discuss here. First of all, I'm a massive skeptic as to whether or not Rivian will actually make it. Don't get me wrong, they got a decent product, they got a shit ton of cash, they may survive, but as we know, production is hard. But Sandy Munro makes an extremely compelling point. You got Tesla in a league of their own, years ahead, mass producing extremely profitable, highly compelling vehicles that customers are willing to wait up to a year or more to take delivery of. And then you've got literally everyone else, which includes legacy automotive manufacturers and new EV startups, who are essentially at the exact same starting point. This is one of those things that kind of does my head in when you hear somebody with a brain that seems to be offline saying something along the lines, well, Ford, GM, they can just catch up to Tesla, they just make cars. And not understanding that the actual stuff that goes in these things under the hood, the stuff that actually matters, completely different. Just because a company, an automotive manufacturer, has been producing vehicles, ICE vehicles, for the last 50, 70, 100 plus years, does not translate in the slightest to producing electric vehicles. This is why a company like Rivian, Lucid, General Motors, pick your automotive manufacturer, whether it's an EV startup or a legacy company, they're basically all at the exact same point. Almost nothing that legacy automotive manufacturers have learned over the last few decades or even a century plus applies in producing compelling, profitable electric vehicles at scale. In fact, I would argue that legacy automotive manufacturers are at a greater disadvantage because of all the legacy overhang and carryover. In my mind, when I see a company, a legacy automotive manufacturers, claiming that they're going to produce X amount of electric vehicles in the future, my very first thought is, good fucking luck. It's not to say they can't do it. It's just to say that what they think they're doing, well, it's the same as an ICE vehicle, right? Wrong. As we heard about the software. Tesla's nailed their software. Everyone else, a fucking joke. This stuff matters. Consumers don't give a fuck about what's happening on the production lines. They give a fuck about their experience in the actual vehicle, the product. If your software sucks shit in an electric vehicle, your product sucks shit. Doesn't matter how many times you've stuck Windows in cars before and ICE propulsion systems. Doesn't count for shit. If your software sucks, your product sucks. A lot of people get stuck on this point they don't quite understand. Legacy automotive manufacturers are at the exact same place as a new EV startup. They're trying to do something brand new they've never done before. People get stuck on the surface details and go, oh, it's exactly the same, right? Windows, steering wheel, tires, same shit, right? Absolutely not. Sandy Munro emphasizing this point. EV startups and legacy automotive manufacturers under the hood, this stuff is still in its infancy.
We've torn apart all these different vehicles. We can put all these different electronic circuit boards next to each other. This guy's got 5. Tesla's got 1. This guy's got 3. Tesla's got 1. This guy's got, in order to make it all happen, 8 different boards. Tesla's got 1. How in the world are they going to compete?
Now, I know that was a rhetorical question, but I'll still take it, Sandy. How are they going to compete? They're not going to compete. They're going to collapse. The writing's on the wall. Strangely, however, most people don't seem to be able to see it yet.
I mean, there's a chip shortage. Maybe somebody should have mentioned that, but every time you have redundancy inside these things, you've got a problem. It just doesn't work well. And then how many of them are, actively pursuing a way to get around these different shortages by going to vertical integration? Well, virtually none. So right now in the US, if you look at the American market, Tesla has got about 70% and Ford is 6.2, which is the number 2 position.
Right.
If you're looking at pure EVs.
Wow.
Holy mackerel, think on, that's ponderous. That is ponderous. So I think that Tesla can try and figure out, they need to buy about 6 or 8 more factories. And I believe that they'll be able to get them quickly, because I think that there's going to be people shutting down factories left, right, and center. As a matter of fact, Stellantis, they just announced that they're going to get rid of their stamping operations in Warren. It's like 1,500 people that are unlucky yesterday. So I think that there's going to be plenty of buildings laying around. I know the machine tool industry is sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for something big to happen. I think Tesla's probably going to go on a buying spree and pick up whatever they want, wherever they want, because really and truly, their biggest constraint isn't anything to do with except being able to pump out more factories. They need more factories in order to get done what they need to get done.
I strongly disagree with Sandy Munro on this point. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, Tesla does need more factories. They do need to massively increase their production capacity. That is their limiting factor. And yes, there will be many legacy automotive manufacturers shutting down existing facilities, scaling down. There will be plenty of fire sales on gigantic automotive factories, parts factories, and so on. However, in 2010, it made sense for Tesla to pick up factories for pennies on the dollar, literally a penny on the dollar, about 1% of the actual cost to the building. The NUMMI factory, shout out to Fremont. That was a great idea back in 2010, when Tesla was a speck of a company with very little capital available, trying to be as resourceful as possible, and they didn't have the luxury of custom building a brand new multi-billion-dollar factory from the ground up. Instead, they're just picking up the scraps, making do, improvising, and moving forward. They're no longer in a situation where it makes financial or business sense for them to be picking up the scraps of other companies and adapting them to their own needs. Tesla's far beyond that point. They're a cash printing machine. It's in Tesla's best interest to design their factories from the ground up to be as lean, efficient, and resourceful as possible, and this is what they will do. I will be stunned, and I mean stunned, if Tesla buys any facilities from any companies, period. Caveat, they may buy land that has a building on it, the building useless, demolish the whole fucking thing, rip the guts out, maybe that's a possibility, but an extremely unlikely one. Far better for Tesla to go from a clean slate design the entire thing centimeter by centimeter. By the way, if you guys don't know what a centimeter is, that belongs to the metric measurement system, the one that actually makes intuitive sense. I kind of wish I didn't need to explain that, but it still stuns me today that the US is still on the imperial system. I mean, seriously guys, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, back to the point. Next to no chance Tesla's picking up other facilities from other companies who are selling, scaling down, cutting back, and so on. It just doesn't make sense. Over a decade ago, it certainly would have. Tesla literally did this, but today, nah, clean slate design. Sorry, Sandy, you were dead wrong on this one, my friend.
We had an ID4, and I had made a bunch of predictions, and I said that Volkswagen is going to be number 2 in back of Tesla, and they are going to give Tesla a run for their money. And then the ID4 showed up, and I said, well, I like the appearance and whatnot. It looks kind of aggressive, and that's great. I got in, I sat down, and I said, well, it's got a lot more dials and buttons than I would have liked, but hey, let's get this thing on the road. And what? I couldn't believe it.
So in essence, what Sandy Munro just said there is he was actually quite bullish on Volkswagen being capable and competent and maybe even able to compete with Tesla. And then he actually had a look at their first electric vehicle, a steaming pile of excrement.
The self-driving aspect, or the autopilot, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
it wouldn't work. It definitely scared the crap out of me a couple of times. It didn't have the pickup that I thought it was going to have. I mean, I'm experiencing things like from the Y and the we had a Y and S and a 3, two threes,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe it. This thing is a dog.
So when the automotive expert of experts starts looking at your electric vehicle, starts tearing the thing down, and describes it as a dog, you're in big fucking trouble.
And then we take it to, and we had it up on the hoist. So you've got Tesla there with basically BMW underpinnings. It just looks like a BMW underneath, and you put the VW up, and you're looking, and you're going, well, what? But I mean, it was all on the cheap, right? It was all on cheap. Then we got it to the charging station. Volkswagen owns Electrify America. They wouldn't talk to each other. We ran through. I wouldn't work on my cell phone. The app wouldn't work on my cell phone. Didn't work on Eric's. Or sorry, I'm not sure. Was it Zach? I can't remember. If it was Zach's cell phone or Eric's. Somebody got it to work. One person. And then we said, "How long is this going to take?" And it said like 3 or 4 hours. I mean, we didn't get that kind of time. So we went and had lunch. It came back. Oh, it shut off. It shut off because, you're only allowed to have an hour's worth of charging. Are you kidding me? There was nobody else there. None of the other stations were. Oh, I was fried. I literally was out of my mind unhappy.
But remember, the competition is coming.
So what happened? What happened there? Is this like putting the B team on the job? I have no idea, but I will tell you, I was sincerely disappointed with the ID4, and it looks like the marketplace, at least in the U.S., is reacting the same way. And the reason that Tesla is so lucky is because when they were developing their software, we were in the middle of the Obama years, where everything was going bankrupt or being shut down. And he hired up all of the any software guy that he wanted, he could get, because they were looking for new work. And so he got a whole bunch of them. Told them they could have stock options. The stock options started to climb up, and now, I mean, they don't have any problem getting software people. The best on the planet go to Tesla.
Just to make sure we're all clear, this comment is literally true. The world's best engineers, literally the world's best, all want to work for Elon Musk, either SpaceX or Tesla. Don't take my word for it. Look at the yearly surveys conducted of graduating engineering students in the United States. Hey, where do you most want to work? Guess who's number 1 and 2 every year? They jostle for position number 1 and 2. SpaceX and Tesla. Every fucking year. This wasn't a hyperbolic statement from Munro. The world's best engineers, literally the best engineers on the planet, want to and do work for Tesla. But remember, you guys can fill in the blank. I'm not even going to say it again.
He got the cream of the crop during the hard times when everybody else was getting rid of people. He was hiring them, and that's why he's gotten to where he is. And then the other thing is, software is kind of a tricky business. You can reverse engineer software sometimes if you have the boards and you understand what's going on. However, that stuff's copyrighted.
Not in China, it's not. Get it? Because China, get it? I'm not going to explain it.
It's very easy to be swept along with it, and it's so refreshing to hear you say you looked underneath this car and you went, "What the hell is that?" You know, because that's not the PR story that someone like me would be party to. You know, would receive that. Surely, then some of the old manufacturers that we've all grown up knowing well are just going to stop. They're just going to cease. They just will disappear. I mean, do you think that is a possibility?
I think that's a very strong possibility.
You and me both, Sandy. You know who doesn't think that? How do I say this delicately? Actually, why the f do I care about saying this delicately? The morons who currently own stocks of just about every automotive manufacturer on the planet that isn't Tesla. Don't say I didn't warn you.
I hate to say it, but you know, our old best customer, the guys we helped a lot to grow, you know, the badges and the name, the Chrysler folks, I think they're in deep trouble right now. I just think that the Chrysler group is going to have a hard time, and I'm thinking that's going to be one that might disappear.
Now, this is big. Sandy Munro has singled out a specific legacy automotive manufacturing company, Chrysler, although technically now they're part of Stellantis. And by the way, speaking of Stellantis, I kind of feel like there was this guy on YouTube nearly 3 years ago who said that legacy automotive manufacturers almost universally will go bankrupt before the end of the decade, but along the way, many of them will be acquired or merged with other companies first. Stellantis, a great example of this. The Fiat brand, Fiat Chrysler, now part of Stellantis. The merger before the inevitable bankruptcy, and then Sandy Munro himself pointing out he does not think they're going to make it. This is how things play out. I just want to make sure everyone gets this. A decade from now, Most legacy automotive manufacturers will no longer be in business. In the best case scenario, aside from a few exceptions who will limp forward as shadows of their former selves. The process is, oh f***, we're in trouble, what do we do? I know what we'll do, we'll merge with some other companies, that'll save us, right? Oh no, that's not going to help, is it? Oh shit, okay, we're bankrupt, f***.
The only car company that I think, major car company that I think will probably not see a great giant departure from where they are right now, I think is Ford.
So, if I'm interpreting Sandy Munro's words correctly, I believe what he just said is that everyone, except Ford, is completely and utterly fill in the blank.
And I've said this, it's not like the first time I've said it, and I'm standing behind it because I don't see the A-team at Volkswagen taking over. I don't see the A-team from General Motors. I don't see the A-team from Toyota. I don't see the A-team that I was expecting. Do you know, when you think about it, General Motors was the first guys into the marketplace with the EV1. Then when the resurgence came, they were the first guys in the marketplace with the, or the Volt, Volt. And then the Bolt. They should be dominating the marketplace right now over here.
Absolutely.
Why didn't that happen?
This is a great question. Oh, by the way, sorry, actually, no, sorry. The official Ministry of Truth, my mistake. Sandy Munro is wrong, actually. GM are leading the way. In fact, over to everybody's favorite dementia patient, confirming this very fact, because if he says it, it's obviously true.
In the auto industry, Detroit's leading the world in electric vehicles. You changed the whole story, Mary, wherever you are. There you are. You did, Mary. You electrified the entire automobile industry. I'm serious. You led, and it matters.
That comes from internal politics. That's why I think Dietz that's why I think he's gone. He wasn't politically correct. And believe me, I watched all kinds of big companies dig pits for executives that they didn't want. And then, come on, a little bit further, bring it a little bit further. Oh yeah, we're right on your side. And then when they fall in the hole and there's a bear in there, they get ripped to shreds and tossed and on their way.
Sandy's right. He's referring to Herbert Diess. VW, previously VW, has now been shit-canned. Why? Well, he acknowledged reality, he said the truth, he pointed out that Tesla was in the lead, that VW needed to catch up, they do their best to catch up, and now he no longer has a job. VW's last hope at surviving the decade has been shit-canned. The level of incompetence, idiocy, blindness, stupidity, politics, bureaucracy, red tape, I mean, VW really had a chance. Although, they probably didn't deserve to have a chance. The whole Dieselgate thing is actually what propelled VW in an EV direction in the first place. And still, they seem to have completely and utterly f***ed it up. Well done, you absolute morons.
I watched that happen at BMW. I watched it happen at Mercedes. Certainly at Chrysler. On and on and on. Pretty much every company we've seen. That's why I never went on the political ladder or the management ladder. You get on the management ladder and it's easy to get decapitated. But I was on the technical ladder. Once you're a worldwide expert, who's going to toss you? Well, my boss actually had a lot to do with that as well. But anyway, it's very difficult to get politically screwed over if you're on the technical ladder. But if you're on the management ladder, holy mackerel, you have no friends, zero friends. Even guys that get together to dig a pit for someone else, even they don't stick around. They're all lone wolves. They'll only come together for a little while and then they're out for themselves again. So I feel sorry for Volkswagen. I really do. Yeah, Toyota Group is the biggest car company, period.
Yeah, they're the biggest car company.
Okay, but there was a change, okay? And the change happened when Ichi, the original guy in charge, Ichi Toyota left, and he gave it to his son. And his son was trained in Harvard. He's an MBA.
What could possibly go wrong with the Harvard MBA running your business? I mean, after all of the world's most successful companies in history, without exception, were founded, led, grown, and ultimately flourished under the leadership of somebody with an MBA, in particular from Harvard. Because if you don't have an MBA, especially not from Harvard, you don't know anything about business and you cannot possibly succeed. I'm so shocked, I just don't know what went wrong here. I also can't imagine why putting your son in charge of things rather than the most competent person for the job, which statistically speaking probably isn't your son, don't see how that could ever go wrong either.
And he focuses his attention on that bottom line and quarter by quarter. They had options to go in different directions. You could stay with hybrids. You could go to fuel cells, hydrogen. You could go with electric. You could go with battery, Or you could, I mean, there was a whole bunch of different options. And I think they chose unwisely. That would be the first thing. But I think they chose for reasons that totally escape me.
Well, Sandy, the reasons that have escaped you have not escaped this guy. 4 words: brain damage and incompetence. Still today, Toyota publicly, out loud, pursuing multiple propulsion strategies.
We're not really sure what consumers want. We're going to have lots of choices. Hydrogen fuel cells, hybrids, we don't really know. We're going to do 12 strategies all at the same time because we haven't figured out yet that electric vehicles are the future.
I have no idea why they went down the path that they did. I mean, we looked at the fuel cell, and they couldn't make it. They have a very unique way of scanning out the electrons, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's so complicated, we could not figure out how they could manufacture it. And nobody else on the planet was interested. Nobody wanted to get involved in it. There was other people that had fuel cells. We worked for International Fuel Cell and Ballard and all these other guys. We knew all about it. I mean, I knew what it could do, and I knew how much energy it would take to get the job done. But, I mean, when we looked at that, I just said, this is way over my head. I've seen everybody else's, but I have no idea what I'm looking at here. This is too complicated. This is a puzzle that I know I can't fix, and let's just shut it up, close it up, and get it out of here. And we did, and that's precisely where we got rid of it, because we couldn't see a future. It didn't take long for me as an engineer to see that.
The hubris and arrogance of this guy. Doesn't even have an MBA, especially not one from Harvard. How could he possibly determine that there's no future in full cell vehicles? Who does this guy think he is?
If you're not an engineer, if you're into razzle-dazzle, well, then maybe you could get steered in the wrong direction. But I will tell you that with Toyota anyway, their head was turned in a direction that didn't help them out at all, and never will. Toyota, I think Toyota and VW are going to be the big losers to the Chinese. But I'm telling you what, I've got more little children coming up saying, "Oh, I watch your YouTube channel." I'm going, really?
Wow.
What for? You know, because they're interested in how things are going. And so I've had them as young as maybe 6 or 7, and 15 to 18 or something. Our cycle looks like that. The guys here at the front are really young. It dips down, and then you've got old guys like us at the other end.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And when little kids come along and say that my dad's an embarrassment, he doesn't really understand EVs. My dad's an embarrassment? Because, I mean, that's a guy that is not going to be buying a big V8. I guarantee it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that was one of the most startling little moments at the very first Fully Charged Live we did. Met this family with their young son, and they were saying, "Oh, we've had a great time. It's been great, blah, 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 and we did this and that." And I said to the little boy, and I would say he was probably 7 or 8 years old. I said, have you enjoyed it today? And he was like, his mouth was open, and he just said, "We went in a Tesla."
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what he'll remember when he's 50. He'll remember, I remember going to that thing where I went in a Tesla. You know, he's never going to forget that. And that was because the Tesla Owners Club were driving people from the car park to the venue, and they were amazing. They were volunteering. But that little kid has always stayed with me. He didn't say anything. I know, because there was loads of stuff for kids there. There was playground, all kinds of stuff. And he just was like that. We went in a Tesla. That was his thing. Amazing.
Believe it or not, this may be the most important insight in the entire discussion. Kids get it. They really get it. Not only do they get it, but in the future, these 7, 8, 9, 12-year-olds, 5, 10 plus years, will be future Tesla customers and employees. In the mind of just about every child on planet Earth today, there's cars and there's Teslas. Take a moment to let that sink in. But don't forget,
the competition is coming!
All over itself, not for Tesla. I thought this was a fantastic discussion, loads of insights. As I mentioned, link in the description, watch the full thing. Runs for just over an hour, only featured about 15 minutes of highlights here, but I really wanted to emphasize, every time Sandy Munro is talking about Tesla, whether it's the electronics, the software, it doesn't matter. There's literally no competition, and worse still, those companies that many people think are coming for Tesla are actually just headed for bankruptcy. And you heard it here first, folks. Chrysler, now part of Stellantis, may in fact be first in line. Hope you've enjoyed the interview. I love watching Sandy Munro nutting over Tesla's engineering. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I'm not going to lie. And lastly, don't forget you can support the channel by joining Patreon with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment. You'll instantly unlock well over 100 exclusive Q&A videos on loads of different subjects, plus dozens of other exclusive videos and content, heaps of perks, including instant up-to-date access to my Tesla stock price targets out over the next decade. So I'll see you over on Patreon. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.